Hello again. This is the second video I've made today, both of which include my cat. I have another cat somewhere. It's special needs. It has like neurological problems, kind of shuffles and flops about, so it can't like jump up on the table. But she's very sweet too. This is a boy, she's a girl. And her name is Billy. My name is Brian Jennings. This channel exists to discuss a lot of things, but primarily to discuss the nature of my relationship with Quentin Tarantino and the movie critic. I am the actual reason that Quentin canceled the film last April as a result of an essay where I reminded the world that Quentin appropriated Brad Pitt's spousal abuse as the plot for Cliff Booth's storyline. And the reviews in protest that I wrote three reviews to three films in protest, and the story's very long. It's it's bullshit. I've gone over the whole thing 1,000 times, but I find myself. I'm going to make another long form video, and I'm going to send it out to a bunch of people. And I wonder if he's already like written everyone and said, "Oh, I have this crazed fan." It's kind of a double-edged sword because like the things that I'm saying. Right? Like if he goes out of his way to write people in advance, then when I say that he's watching me, it kind of harkens to that being a reality. Doesn't it? It kind of harkens to the things that I'm saying. Like if he goes, like if I write someone and say everything that I'm saying, right, that the two of us have a psychic connection, that he's a powerful psychic clairvoyant, and he's a dangerous man and all these things, right? He tortures me, right, with a power no court can ever try you on. Then when, like if I write someone, right, like if I write, say, Chuck Palahniuk, right, and I say, this is your buddy, right, like this is what actually occurred with the movie critic. Right, then if Quentin writes him before, like if he gets something from Quentin before I send something, and he says, "Oh, I got this crazy fan that," right, da 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 da, right, dismiss any, don't listen to anything that he says. Then when he gets a letter from me, right, that he like what I'm saying is that like, for all that I frustrate him, he can't really go out of his way, right? Without proving me right. That's the point. Right? And so the reality is that those monologues, number one, Ari's not going to show those monologues to people. Right? He's not going to want people thinking about the fact that, right, I burned all the way into his psyche, as well as Mike Simpson. Right? They could show the first curse, I guess, and say, "Oh, he's not well. See, here's the, like, look at this. Like, where does this come from?" But they can't really show those monologues. My point being that, like, all of the letters, there's nothing that's really conclusive there. There's nothing that actually, like, definitively proves that he's not doing the things that I say. It only proves that I'm a passionate guy. And so, I'm sick of talking about it, honestly. It's like, it doesn't, like that scene, like if this is about my scene, if it's not about my scene, then he's just outright evil. Right? And if this is about my scene, then that's business. Like, it's just business. Just pay me for my intellectual property. Right? Like, I get it. I get it. Like, this is how you make your movies. Like, I get it. I've gotten it for a while now. Right? No Quentin Tarantino, Brian Jennings collaboration. Right? He's the only writer on his films. I get it. But if you're using the scene, just pay me for the scene. But another point that I've been making for a while now is that he's gone so far off the rails and turned it into this ugly, evil thing that I have no choice but to talk about it. And so you can believe the lie, right? You can say, "Oh no, like Quentin's a Like Quentin's a famous guy. He's being like, right? Like this is about Brian. It's not about Quentin. And that's really sad that whomever is thinking that one-dimensionally. But everything that I've been saying is true. Right? He did cancel the film as a result of my essay in the reviews, as a result of letters that I wrote him about playing the lead in the movie Critic. That's all true. And he did. He primed the pump and groomed me. And so when I think about the book, right, I've written a novel about it, Building a Coven. You know, he groomed me to be a movie star and wanted me to play the telepathy mind game, right, at a screening of Jackie Brown last year, well, with conversation with Robert De Niro thereafter. And I've had so much guilt about that forever. Like, that is my fault. That's my fault. For sure. Like, he didn't need to say anything else. He didn't need to. I wanted him to. I wanted him to not play a fucked up mind game with me anymore. And in his mind, he was like, oh, ambition, like, oh, he needs to, right? If he would have told me, I expect you to be strong and take charge. Even in the psychic crucible of the mind's eye. But he was subtle and coy all the way through. So, anyway. But thereafter is like, it's the conspiracy to, compel me to lose my mind. Like, that's what's been occurring for like over a year now. So that he could justify not saying anything to me. It's really, really ugly, really base evil. But when I think about the novel, that's very perplexing. That's the story, like everything that's unfolded, everything that's transpired. The daughter, right? Everything's daughters. Oh, I'm going to be your father-in-law, and I'll buy you a starter home. And, it was all a joke to them. It was all, right? But where is it coming from? Like, that's... Of course, the people who don't believe me, they say it's my madness, and that's fine. Like, you're allowed to think that. I can't sway your conviction one way or the other. You have to sway your own conviction. But when I think about it, like knowing the truth, knowing the objective truth, though it can't be objectively proven, that everything that occurs in the novel must hearken to some psychological truth within him, within them. So, right, he tells me he has a daughter, and so in my mind, I was like, oh, he lives in Tel Aviv, and like he's probably been going to Israel for like a long time, and maybe he does. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust it. So maybe he does have like a secret daughter. Like I don't know. Like why? I didn't realize that it's a joke to him. And so I treated it flippantly at Tribeca. That's like, I've always acknowledged that. That's why I started to build the planter. That's why I quit my job, threw myself on the street, abandoned all of my property. Right? I did all of that for him. Right? And I said all of that in the curse. I abandoned all of my worldly possessions to be here now for you because you wanted me here. Right? And I find it hard to believe that Mike Simpson, right, whatever the fuck he told him, that he just like outright believed it. Knowing everything that I had been doing, right, but outright believed him when he said, oh, I have no idea what he's talking about. See, he's crazy. Right? Because I had a job. Because I was working a job. Moving on with my life. Right? It's all very convenient, isn't it? Right? That's my point. But, around that time, right, it took maybe another 5 weeks or so from that point, from the point of the first curse. It was revealed to me that he has a daughter who loves me and wants my baby. And and again, it's a joke. It's some sort of sick joke to them. I don't know. But like, what is it? Like, where does it come from? Like, where does it come from? Right? I think the more that I think about it, the more that, of course, we've had a lot of time to kind of like process everything, right? And I think that, I don't know, but I think that, so when I was at Tribeca, right, this real pretty girl, gold skin, great legs, right? She came out and signed for something while I was waiting in line. I waited in line like 3 hours. I was like chatting it up with everybody and we had a good time. Nobody knew, nobody knew. And I think that girl is very close to Quentin. Right? Of course, he doesn't have an adult daughter, right? Unless he does, and she's like a secret, Israeli. Anyway, it's all a joke to them, right? But I think that she's like a daughter to him. And I think that she has really strong feelings for me. That's what I think. That she saw me singing songs, playing guitar, and acting Hamlet, and right? She wanted to know me biblically. And so that's my point. That like in his mind, he was like, okay, right? Like initially he was like, okay, this is great. Like I love this girl, and like he's not like in show business. He's not like he's like outside. He's above the fray, and he's into philosophy and meditation and all these things. Then when I didn't give him what he wanted, he said, "Oh, I'll use this thing that I was going to give you to destroy you, right? To make you lose your mind." Not knowing that I had been celibate for like 7 years by that point, so it's like it doesn't. Like it's not in fact interesting to me that a woman doesn't want me because like I'm actually above it, And it was just my decision, When I thought that I was dirty, I said, no, it's fine. I'll be above it. And then 2 years later, I had my spiritual awakening. It took me a while, but when you liberate your mind out of the terrestrial, right? And so in that way, again, right, like my knowing failed me. Like I didn't want to play the mind game anymore. I played the mind game for 8 weeks, right? In my mind all the time. Like I had this thought like, oh, I have no time to myself. The only time that I have to myself is before I go to work at 4 a.m. Eastern time, 2 a.m, 1 a.m, LA. And of course, he's a night owl. He stays up all night doing coke all the time still. But that's what I think is occurring here now. That's what's been occurring. Like that there was, right? Maybe there still is, like I don't know. That there was a young girl, younger than me, not young, but a beautiful young woman, who said, "Oh, I like this guy. I like this guy. He's really handsome and talented." And that's true. Those things are objectively true. And so, right, perhaps that's why it's still going on, I guess, like maybe is the point that I'm making. I don't know what I'm talking about right now, beyond that, like I'm just processing my life. But perhaps he does, perhaps he's, someone close to him doesn't want to let me go, like maybe that's the point. I can't control what they do. I can't. We probably would be good together. I don't know. I have no subtlety. I have no cunning. Right? He could have. Right? I don't see why he like why it had to be this. Why it had to be all of this. I wanted him to put me on the spot. I wanted him to finish the scene that he started. Right? At least look me in the eye. Just stare me down like I was staring him down, and I would have broke in 5 seconds. So, it's my fault. It's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's my fault. But everything thereafter, all of it, just like the density of it all, the immensity of it all, right? When I think about how evil he's been to me, right? And how I have no choice but to descend, essentially. It upsets me. It upsets me in a big way. The thought of, like, if he is doing a play at the West End in January, right, if there is an actual untitled Quentin Tarantino project which is slated through Production Weekly to begin in December, then I have no choice but to assume that he's going to persist in this way. And so that's why, right? So we have 3 instances now, right? Which is an objective pattern of behavior, right? The first instance was at Cannes, right? You could say the whole fucking thing is indicative of his depravity, and that's true too. But the first time was at Cannes, right? When he was being cruel to me while he was doing something that I was not aware of. Right? I don't look this man up. I don't right? Now I have to, that's my point. But then I wasn't. I was, right? We're moving on. Fuck the movie critic, right? Fuck your foot fetish. Fuck your black magic evil. Right? So that was the first time. And so thereafter, right, every few weeks I would look up, right? I said, okay, I gotta stay on it. I gotta stay on it. Right? His speaking engagements. Right? And so then he got his Lifetime Achievement Award at the end of September at the Burbank International Film Festival. Right? I thought about buying a ticket. If I'd have had more money, I would have. Right? But I emailed everyone involved, right? Of course. Anytime I know that he's doing something, I'm letting everyone know. And he can lie to all of them. That's the humor. That's the comedy of it all. Right? That he's so stubborn and persistent in his need to be deceptive and full of cunning and full of guile. Right? That he just actively lies to everyone. And so that's it's funny. We're gonna go all the way. We're taking it all the way, right? I'm gonna be honest, right? And he can lie to everyone, right? And so again, I put all my secrets on paper when they stole them from me because I trusted him, because I loved him. And I never would have done that if I realized that he's a child in his mind, because I know that he's taken those letters and turned everyone against me that I wrote to help us reconcile my heroes that define my worldview. I don't care if he turned show business people against me. Right? I didn't write him to be a movie star. I wrote him because I'm the best actor that could have played the movie critic. And that's still objectively true. Brad Pitt's a wife-beating hack. Right? But for him to turn my heroes against me, for him to take the letter that I sent him in trust, right? Saying, yes, you're very powerful, out of respect, out of love, out of trust. And said, there it is. Yeah, you're right. So what? Right? And he paraded that fucking thing to anybody he wanted to. And went, oh, ha, 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 ha. And it's, he's a child in his mind. But it's really sad. It's really sad that we're just goblins in each other's mind. And this is why I have to talk about it. And so I think moving forward, because if you recall, I'm a writer. That's why I wrote him. I'm going to start, because I'm thinking about the channel, and it's oh God, how many fucking times can I say the story, And so I think that I want to make a video every day, and I want to make a video every day, or 2, but every day. And so I have to become the man that I am, right? He's tried to steal the light out of me. That's what's been occurring. Him and the people around him, right? Does he have some sort of esoteric order that all collectively meditate on my suffering, on my death, plague my mind with psychosexual torture? I think so. I don't think it's far-fetched. But anyway, I'm coming back to life. I'm becoming the man that I always have been. Right? And if that means that I have to, right, if I have to give it back to him in equal measure, right? I can't, and I would never do this because I'm not evil, right? I can't actively do the things to him that he's done to me actively. because like that's an invitation for him to murder me. And I still live in constant fear that he's going to hit his breaking point psychologically and send someone to assassinate me. But if and when he puts, right, I can protect myself, I can defend myself. Right? And so this is like to bring it all back to the pattern of behavior. Right? I kind of got sidetracked. But the second time was at the Lifetime Achievement Award, and I let everyone know, so I knew about that event, but the days leading into it was on a Sunday, but that Friday and Saturday, that was like the first time that he really buried me in it, as far as letting me believe that he has murdered people. That is, and I'm not completely sold that he hasn't, honestly, but, you know, it was really, really the dangerous, the ugliest, highest evil anyone can practice, short of perpetual occult, like ritualistic torture, short of genocide, short of assassination, right? And so that was the second instance, right? And then the third instance was maybe 3 weeks ago when I wrote my last letter to the press, right? And I said, oh, I could have my scene for free, and that was under duress. I don't stand by that at all, right? I'll still sue him, and he'll still pay me if I sue him, for sure, because he doesn't want the things that I have to say going on to a court stenographer's notes, right, and getting released to court TV, right? But the reason that I did that is because he was doing it again, right? And so in my mind, I thought, oh, he's finishing the film right now. They started in July, or they started in like May, or I remember they announced that it was shooting in the summer, and then when I looked up Stacey Sher, it said it was shooting. I think that was in May, actually. So May to October, it's like, okay, that's I feel like that tracks, you know. And so that's why I created that letter, and I sent it to everyone. And of course, they just think I'm insane. They don't want to, right? It's easy journalism to like figure out that like I am the reason that he canceled the film. That there's no other reason. Right? They're all just like basically what I'm saying is like all these journalists are lazy that I reached out to, or maybe no one who actually gives a shit read it. But that's probably also true in a big way. But what I realized is that the trades published just a couple of days ago that he was shooting a film in France. That he was acting in a film in France. And so that, like, maybe they were making my scene. Maybe they have made my scene. It's the most badass scene anyone ever sent him. They're using that scene. Right? But it holds water that he could have been doing that to me while he's in a trailer on a film set. Right? And so that's my point, that now we have this established pattern of behavior that any time that he's doing something in the world, in particular when he's doing something that is not publicly available, or something that I'm not aware of. I didn't know that he was going to be at Cannes. I could have guessed, but I didn't look it up. It's none of my business what he does. He has made his position clear, right? We're good. Shove it up your ass right back at you, buddy, right? But the film set, that was not publicly available. Of course, they're not announcing that Quentin Tarantino is on a film set acting. That's not, like, he's not that kind of guy. Right? Of course, they announced it after they wrapped. And so now, right, my point being that the pattern of behavior is this, that when Quentin is doing something, right, he's gonna either himself, right, on that film set when he was in his trailer between takes, or he's gonna have other people make concerted efforts to see me suffer, right? To meditate on my suffering, right? Why? Because he's arrogant. That's why. Because he hates me. That's why, right? I suspect in his mind when he did the panel about with Elvis Mitchell about whatever those films were he discussed at Cannes. It was him, like, he justified it in his mind as, oh, I need you to do this so that I can have my mind, right? Again, esoteric order, he's the Hierophant, right? He delineates, right? And they say, yes, master. Right? And so in that way, right? Like, if there is a girl involved, right, she obviously don't love me that much, right? Because I suspect that she's been playing the game with him the whole time. So, moving forward, I have to be prepared to, right? My point being that I would like to hope that he's not actually going to murder me. That he's just that pathological and that evil. That he's gonna plague my mind with notions of evil every time that he does something. And so, right, I know I can do what he does just as good. Right? And it upsets me a lot because I've right? I've endured so much over these months, and all he has to do is go away. That's it. Right? But now, right, again, I can't debase myself in the way that, right? I can't give him an invitation, but I can protect myself. That's what I'm saying. Everyone around me has given me permission for months now to just descend into black magic evil. Anyone can do it. However, I don't have $300 million, and I know so much of this is tied into the fact that he's just being a bully because he knows that I live in abject poverty. Ha ha ha, oh, you turn your back on me, on my fame? I torture you and you're poor. You can't do anything, or I'll murder your whole family, and no one will ever know. Right? It's really scary. Really scary. And it's all a joke to them. Right? But what I'll say is that I'm coming, like, right? That's why I say I have to be prepared to protect myself, right? So that I can take my mind back, so I can re-illuminate the light inside of me, right? Even with all the baggage inside of me, right? I have to be able to shine my light. I have to be able to, right? He tried to extinguish my light for not giving him what he wanted. Really ugly. The ugliest evil campaign anyone could possibly practice. But I'm still here, strong, fighting. And so moving forward, I'm going to start writing again. Right? And anytime he tries to plague my mind with evil, I'll just give it right back to him. And so hopefully, my point is that hopefully he can finally move on too. Right? Because it's pointless. It's just pointless. Right? I can remember saying, however long ago, just get it over with. Like, what do you get out of this? You know? And it's so frightening. It's so ugly. It's so scary to think about. Right? How evil he obviously is. No one would enter into this campaign to see me put into such a state psychologically unless they were palpably evil. But I'm going to wake up and I'm going to write a couple of pages, and then I'll always read the pages on here. And so that's like, right? So it's like about journaling, it's about writing, it's about staying a good writer, becoming a better writer, right? And I'll still recite Shakespeare and play guitar as much as I want, talk about anything that's going on in my life. Undoubtedly, a lot of the writing is going to talk about Quentin because the two of us occupy so much real estate in each other's minds, right? No matter what he tells people, right? And that's why I suspect everyone around him doesn't in fact believe him when he tells them that I'm just insane, right? So it's just a coincidence that, like, right? The fact that you were acting in a movie at the same time that Brian was, like, saying these things, that's just like a coincidence. Again, because that's not publicly available, right? That's my point. Right? So, I got the ticket, the shadow ticket. I'm on chapter 2. It's classic Pynchon, very readable, unlike, right, say Gravity's Rainbow. Right? So I'm trying to get, and again, I haven't really been able to read either, right? But right, I think that he does know. I think that he finally has, like, accepted it on some level. right? That I'm not gonna blow my brains out. I'm not gonna do that. Right? It's funny to think about how obviously it's not a Netflix film. There's no fucking Netflix, right? That Quentin directed that film from his house. And they had the second unit there. They had everyone else there. And everyone's under gag order, right? That he's so devoted to this notion of secrecy and cunning and playing tricks on people, right? Like the trickster, right? That he makes his last movie with everyone under gag order. Like that's not what it's supposed to be. NDAs on your last film set. It's right. My point is that this has nothing to do with a movie, right? That this is about power and control. If this was about making a movie, right? If he respected me as a person in the world at all, then when I didn't give him what he wanted, right? He would have wrote me and said, "You blew it. Fuck you too, buddy." Right? And let me sue. Or paid me off. Right? This is what I think. This is what I think. I think that when I told him that I was going to keep reviewing movies, that nothing is solved, right? I can still write. Like, you don't want to talk to me like a normal person, right? Therefore, you set yourself up to not get what you want. That's the point. That's the point that I was making then. And I hated myself almost immediately, right? But I think that the people around him said, you need to reach out to him. You don't want him, right? We don't want him to drop, boom, 1 million words in protest, 1 million plus words in protest, right? I did, like 12,000 words in a week, right? So we said that it takes 5 months to shoot a film, another 5 months to edit it, right? So that's 10 months, 4 weeks each month. Yeah, that's 400,000 words. That's 500,000 words. I could do that still. Right? But that pissed him off. When I didn't give him what he wanted, and then everyone around him said, he doesn't have to play your mind games. That's not what he wrote you to do. Give him a shot. Right? And so this is the real point that I'm making right now is that he was so against giving me a shot, not because I hurt him, though that is why, right? But as a result of hurting him, he would never just give me a shot because he knows that I would do a great job. Right? And so, again, this isn't about the movie, right? This is about power and control. Right? That he conspired to make me seem insane, and really he wanted me to blow my brains out. That's like what he wanted. That's what he still wants. He's a sad, angry, evil man who doesn't appreciate anything that he has in life. But hopefully, right, we understand each other. And it's difficult for me. I love meditation. I love being introspective. And so now, right, who do I see? Just them. That's it. That's it. And I know that if they actually left me alone, I could remote view anyone just fine. So, I've decided I want to start going to downtown when the weather's nice and set up a little area, offer psychic readings, remote viewing, teach remote viewing. Just to see what sticks. Right? It's about picking up the pieces. It's about shining my light. Not letting Quentin, right, define my whole life, right? Humiliate me forever. Right? All the letters that I wrote, right? It's like, all my heart, everything that I gave him, when he could have just said a single sentence and moved on with his life. Right? He didn't even have to pay me off until I saw that he was using my intellectual property. Right? And that's not to mention the $1 billion system of projection I gave him. Right? He's probably already stolen it. Which I gave him as tribute when I was writing my letters. And so, just to clear the air about that, it's a system of projection, right? Where every frame and sound file in the film is converted into NFTs, right? And so, here, I'll sketch it out right now. 1 second. Okay, so the system of projection converts the images and the sound files into a sequence of NFTs, right? And so here's an example of my point. And so the idea is that it prevents uploading of creative content into generative AI, right? It can't stop fraud, but it will give you a clear path to, or not fraud, but it can't stop pirating, but it can offer you a clear path to legal recourse. Okay, so if this is your projector, this is for new movies. Right? This is for new movies. This is your projector, right? This is the screen, right? And I don't know that you can actually do this with an analog. I drew it as an analog, but it's primarily digital projection, right? But on the projector is a Raspberry Pi with the blockchain, right? And so as each frame is projected, each sound bite, right, is expressed, right? The blockchain sends the function of its programming to the whatever you would call it, like the mainframe, right? The wherever the warehouse. I don't know. I'm not a fucking. I despise Silicon Valley in any measurable way. The server house, right? Wherever it keeps the server for all of the Raspberry Pis, right? So it's a loop, right? So the blockchain does the function of its programming and then sends the timestamp of when the blockchain is sequenced back to the server, right? And so that's, right, like this is your, it's a closed loop of accountability, right? That if intellectual property emerges on generative AI, on OpenAI, on all of these things, right, then whomever has had their material stolen or uploaded illegally can go back to the timestamps for when each NFT sequence was projected, right? And so this works unilaterally across any sort of like it would work for anything, right? But this is my point when I say I gave him a lot. I gave him a lot. Like you could take that one idea, right, as a creator, right? And if your artistic prowess is enough, right, then you like say you have infinite money, right? Like Quentin Tarantino, right? He could create his own cryptocurrency, right? And only allow you to purchase any of his artistic endeavors through buying his cryptocurrency and then sell separately, right, the specific piece of hardware that allows the individual who purchases the art to view legally the material that you create. Oh no, kitty. right? Like this is the future, right? And if you are good enough, right, then your cryptocurrency can become so popular that you engender a measurable change or influx in the financial market through your artistic endeavors purely, right? That's like, then you're engendering a new thing, right? It's like an arcade, right? It's like an arcade, you put the money in the machine and then the tokens go back into the arcade. Right? So this is like a 21st century arcade kind of idea is what I'm saying here. And I gave that to him for free. And I didn't have any sketches or anything with it, but right, that is 100%, that's the future. That's the future. Where anyone who makes a movie, right, if they actually don't want it to be uploaded illegally, pirated illegally, then they're going to have to start building hardware and embedding every single frame and sound file as a sequence of NFTs in blockchain. That's the future. Right? And so it wasn't enough, right? And so therefore I can't keep hating myself because I know that I am enough. So I'm going to stop. I've been going on for a long time now. My cat's needs to go outside. So be good to each other. Right? Pray for me, pray for Quentin. Read a good book. Write a poem for someone you love. Meditate. All the best. God bless.